So we'll delve straight in, I think. And I was wondering, Marco, if you could just tell us a little bit more about your early life and how you grew up.
Well, firstly, good evening, everybody. This is quite scary, but quite exciting at the same time. Small chairs. Well, I was born in the north of England, in a city called Leeds. I was born into very humble beginnings, and you know, when I think back to my time in Leeds, you know, I came from a very working class world, but a working class world that had self-esteem and they had pride. They knew their position. The front gardens were always tended. The back garden was where you grew your vegetables. You dried your washing. And when I go down the streets of the world that I was born into, I think it's not a world I recognize anymore. Because we were brought up to better ourselves. It was as simple as that. When I was 13 years old, my father looked at me as a man, not a boy, and sent me out to work. And every morning I would wake up, Monday to Saturday, at 4:45. At 5:05, the milkman would collect me. And we would run the next 4 hours. Run, or 3.5 hours. And then he would take me to school. Every day I was late. But you know, I earned £5 a week. And at the end of that week, my father took my money and told me it was for my holidays. I never worked it out, but when I look back as a child, I think he spent it down the bookies. But that was the world that I came from. But my father, what he did do, he taught me how to work hard. He taught me how to be disciplined. He taught me how to be punctual. He taught me how to never throw in the towel. And if I threw in the towel, he taught me to pick it up. Never give in. Never, ever, ever give in. And when you're young, it's very easy to give in, to walk away. It really is. I did very badly at school. Really badly. I left school. I wasn't very good at spelling. I wasn't very good at reading or writing. But my father, in January 1978, he gave me some money, which was enough to take me to Harrogate on the bus, buy me a sandwich, get me a cup of tea, and bring me home. He dressed me in my Sunday best. It was the most daunting task I'd ever been given. He told me to knock on the doors, the kitchen doors of the hotels, and explain that on the 17th of March, I was finishing school, and I was looking for an apprenticeship. I'd be prepared to start work on Monday the 20th. So I got the 36 bus to Harrogate, not knowing where I was going.
Wouldn't it be crazy if you could create voiceovers that sound like a
raspy old man,
a young teenage girl?
Never in my life had I strayed so far from home, unaccompanied. And there I was in my Sunday best. I got off the bus by the cenotaph in Harrogate, not knowing where I was going, not knowing that journey was me leaving the world that I was born into and starting a new world. And so I walked down the hill. Don't know why. I got to the bottom of the hill. I saw this hotel in front of me, called the Hotel St. George. Victorian, quite grand,
bastante grande.
posh doorman. And so I walked alongside it. The doorman looked at me. I looked at him. I was quite intimidated, scared.
Estaba bastante intimidado.
I walked past him. I saw this little road which went round to the back of the hotel. I walked down this road,
Caminé por
and then I saw this door,
y vi esta puerta,
a turquoise door.
una puerta turquesa,
I thought that must be the kitchen door.
y pensé, esa debe ser la puerta de la cocina.
I knocked on the door. And the truth is,
Y la verdad es,
I never wanted that door to open.
nunca quise que esa puerta se abriera.
It opened.
Se abrió.
Trevor, the kitchen
Trevor,
porter,
el
opened the door to my
lavaplatos,
new life.
abrió la puerta.
He said, "What can I do for you, lad?" I said, "I'm here to see the chef."
Joven,
He assumed that I had an appointment.
él asumió que tenía
He
una
walked me
cita.
through the kitchen.
Caminé
It was
por
the
la
middle of
cocina,
lunchtime service.
el servicio de
They were screaming,
la
they were
comida,
shouting,
el
chefs were
almuerzo.
running in their tall hats.
Todos los
pure
chefs
white.
corriendo, completamente de blanco.
And this chef looked at me.
Y el chef me miró a mí,
I looked at him and I said under my breath, "Hello."
lo vi
He
sosteniendo
ignored me.
aliento, le dije hola,
We
me
came to
ignoró,
another turquoise door.
toqué su puerta,
Trevor knocked on the door. The chef said, "Come in."
el chef dijo, pase,
Trevor,
Trevor,
he said, "There's a young man here to see you, chef."
el joven
He
quiere.
said, "Come in." So I walked in. He
Así
said,
que entré,
"Sit down."
dijo, siéntate,
And I sort of recognized him.
casi lo
I
reconocí,
knew that type of man.
conocí ese tipo de hombre,
He had the same facial features as my
tenía
father.
las mismas expresiones faciales de mi padre.
The publication, spread wide open. On his desk was the Sporting Life.
Y había una publicación
He had the stack
en su cuarto,
of William Mill betting slips, which he wrote his daily specials out on. He said, "What can I do for you, lad?"
¿qué puedo hacer por ti?
I said, "My dad sent me to Harrogate to look for work.
Mi papá me
To
pidió
find
que
an
viniera a buscar
apprenticeship.
trabajo aquí en Harvard.
I leave school on the 17th
Dejó la escuela el día
of
17
March.
de marzo
I'm prepared to start work on Monday the 20th.
y empezaría a trabajar.
He gave
el
me a job
lunes 20. Me dio un trabajo
as an apprentice chef. Live
como
in
un chef aprendiz,
£15 a week.
15 libras a la semana.
But what was amazing about that,
Pero lo que fue impresionante de eso
that was one of the luckiest moments of my
es
life.
que fue uno de los momentos más suertudos de mi vida.
I was born into a council estate.
Nací en un
Getting a
barrio
job at
pobre,
the Hotel St. George was my passport to escape the world that I was
y un
born
trabajo en
into,
el Hotel St. George
to
era
start a new
pasaporte
world.
a la vida que quería.
I went to work at the Hotel St.
Fui a
George.
trabajar al Hotel St. George.
Did I learn much about food?
No sabía mucho de comida.
Not really.
No,
But did I learn how to run?
pero aprendí a correr.
Did I learn how to say, "Yes, chef"?
Aprendí a decir
Did I
sí,
learn
chef.
how to take orders?
Aprendí
Did
a
I
tomar
push
órdenes.
myself? Did I learn how to use a
A
knife?
empujarme a mí mismo.
Did I fear being sacked? Yes, I did. That was my greatest fear. Because if I was sacked,
Si me sacaban,
I lost my home.
perdía mi casa,
I would have to go back to Leeds,
tendría que volver a Leeds,
tell my father
y decir a mi
I'd
padre
been sacked.
que me habían despedido.
I was ruled by fear.
Estaba yo conducido por
I
miedo.
worked so hard
Trabajé muy duro,
and I pushed myself so hard.
me esforcé tanto.
And you know something?
Y
The
esa,
truth is,
la
had it
verdad,
not been for that man, who was not a nice man,
no era un buen hombre, no era un hombre amable.
I would never have realized my dreams.
Nunca
Because he
hubiera
gave me the
completado
tools required. He taught me how to absorb pressure,
me enseñó
how
a
to
absorber
push,
la presión,
how to pick up the towel, how
How
to
to
hide
tomar
my
la toalla.
tears. Because the old world of gastronomy was Escoffier's world.
porque el viejo
It was like a factory floor.
era un
They were hard
el
men,
mundo de la
all from
cocina
humble
era
beginnings.
muy duro.
A tough world.
El mundo de
That first evening on the 20th of March,
esa primera noche del 20
my head chef said to me,
el
not my
chef
head chef,
principal,
sorry, my
perdón,
chef de partie, which means head of a section. His name was Michael Truelove. He said, "Marco,
dijo Marco,
the first thing you've got to learn
la primera cosa que tienes que aprender
is service
es servicio,
is service.
servicio.
And I said, what does that mean?
Y dije, ¿qué significa eso?
He said, whatever the chef says to you,
Lo que diga
whatever
el
he
chef,
screams at you,
lo que sea que te grite,
whether he swears at you, abuses you, you just say, yes, chef.
tú solo dices, sí, chef.
And that's what I did. I just
eso
said,
lo que
yes,
digo.
chef.
Depende de
Whatever I was told to do, whatever
lo
was
que
shouted at me,
el
I just
hiciera,
said, yes,
aunque
chef.
me gritaran, decía, sí, chef.
Anyway, I survived.
Sobreviví,
But in the afternoons,
pero en las
the other chefs weren't interested in me.
los chefs no estaban interesados
I was
en mí.
16.
Tenía 16.
So what I used to do was I used to
Lo que
go to the
solía
hall
hacer-
porter's lodge.
Iba a los
I used to polish
los
the client's
porches
shoes for 2 hours.
y pulía los...
Have a cup of tea with Bill and Ken.
Tenía tazas
And
con
one
los
day,
clientes. Y un
I
día,
walked into the hall porter's lodge,
y entré
go
al
round the
porche
back in my split shift,
en mi tiempo libre.
and on the chair where I sat
En la silla en la que me senté
was a small book.
había un pequeño libro.
That book was about so large
Este libro era
and
así de
so
grande,
thick.
así de grueso.
And on the front of it,
Y en el frente
it said the
decía,
Egan Ronnie Guide to Hotels and Restaurants in
era
Great
la
Britain.
guía, los mejores restaurantes de Gran Bretaña.
I started flicking through it,
Empecé a leer
and what I realized was
y lo que me di cuenta
that restaurants had stars.
es que los restaurantes tenían estrellas.
But what was really interesting,
Pero lo que era realmente interesante,
the finest restaurant in Britain
el mejor restaurante en Gran Bretaña
was the Box Tree
era el Box Tree
in Ilkley in West
en
Yorkshire.
Ilkley, en Yorkshire del oeste.
15 miles down the road.
50 millas
Anyway, that evening I went back
de donde
and
estaba.
I thought to myself,
Volví y pensé,
if I'm going to be a chef,
si quiero ser un
then
chef,
maybe I should work in the best restaurant in
tal
Britain.
vez debería trabajar en el mejor restaurante de Inglaterra.
The next day I thought the same.
El día siguiente
The
pensé lo
next day I
mismo.
thought the same. And this went on for a few months.
Y esto siguió por varios meses.
And one day
Y un día
I plucked up the courage
tomé el valor,
to contact the Box Tree
contacté al Box Tree
and asked if they had any vacancies.
y les pregunté si tenían alguna vacante.
This was the third moment of luck in my
Este
life.
fue el tercer momento de suerte de mi vida.
The day I applied for a job,
El día que apliqué por un
a man
trabajo,
in the kitchen had given his notice. So I go for an interview,
fui a la entrevista
and like the first time,
y como la primera vez
I dress up in my Sunday best,
me puse mi mejor ropa,
polished shoes,
zapatos
clean
pulidos,
cuffs. Collar and tie.
con corbata.
3 o'clock is my appointment.
A las 3 es mi cita.
Once again, I knock on a door.
Una vez más toco la puerta.
The door opens.
La puerta se
I'm
abre
greeted by 2 men.
y me saludan 2 hombres.
One was called Malcolm Reed,
Uno se llamaba Malcolm
and the other was called Colin Long.
y el otro se llamaba Colin Long.
They said, come in.
Dijo, pase.
They sat me down.
Me sentaron.
My interview
Mi entrevista
lasted
duró
2.5
2
hours.
horas y media.
What they did with
Lo
me
que
was,
hicieron fue,
they shared with me the
me
importance
compartieron la
of
importancia
Box Tree,
de Box Tree.
how special Box Tree
Qué tan
was.
especial era el Box Tree.
They wanted me to make the right decision.
Ellos querían que tomara la decisión correcta.
It was quite scary
Fue bastante aterrador
because this was a very special place.
porque este era un lugar bastante
I came
especial.
from a world which was black and white.
Venía de un
after
lugar
the age of
blanco
6.
y negro, después de la edad de 6.
My world had gone back into color.
Mi mundo se había vuelto de color,
So I went to work at Box Tree.
así que fui a trabajar al Box Tree.